Okay, thanks, Jussi. Welcome everybody on my behalf also. On Saturday when we were going through the streams, it was very nice to notice that every stream lead thought that their stream is the most important stream. So I'm proud to present one of the most important streams here, ecosystem for innovation. So Moses, if you can switch the first slide. Okay, so we are talking about ecosystem, which as a definition is very broad, and it comes in many shapes and forms. This is one definition of it by MIT. It's very technical. Typically what's common with these ecosystem definitions is that there are critical, massive, important elements lacking. So let's start by defining the ecosystem, discussing the ecosystem, and especially different interactions within the ecosystem. So we are looking specifically into structures, mentalities, and cultures within the ecosystems. And we need to remember that the kind of like one main topic of this whole session is leadership. So we are approaching all these issues eventually through the topic of leadership. Yeah, next slide, please. And what we want to achieve within this stream is basically these 5 goals. First of all, we need to create actionable plan. So get to that level of concretism that we are able to define tasks and find people, find entities who are able to fulfill these tasks. One of the key goals is to eventually have an impact to policies, enabling these flourishing innovation ecosystems. And as not all of us are policymakers ourselves, we need to find ways how to influence the policymakers for these policy changes. But that's the expertise really of Ilari. Do you want to say something about that?
Yes, good morning everyone. My name is Ilari Lindy, and I'm happy to be the co-lead of this particular stream, which I, again, like Jussi, think it's very important. It was already mentioned the word ecosystem here several times, and I think one of the key things what I would like to say in this occasion is that since there is so much talent in this room and there's so much knowledge in this room, it's quite important that this is not about stream leads or Capgemini leading the process. It's really that the participants of the ecosystem stream will come up and help us to build together a joint knowledge and actionable plan. How do we take these things forward? So we will actually ask questions, open questions like, what do you think about, what is ecosystem? What are the pieces of this famous jargonist word? How do you define it? What kind of structures are behind enabled ecosystem, which is in a position to develop that kind of competencies of entrepreneur, to develop and diffuse technologies, eventually create sustainable companies. So it's very much going to be a collaborative process. I hope everybody in this stream will raise their voice, speak openly, and share openly the knowledge what they have within the stream, but also to connect with other streams, because the success of our stream ecosystem is very much depending on how well does it actually build synergies with other 3 streams. And in the end of the summit, of course, and at the end of each day, there will be joint action and meetings between each ecosystem stream leads as well as the facilitating body with the Capgemini. But I think I leave it there. I hope you will enjoy our stream and keep your mind open, speak out, and listen as well. Thank you.
Sorry, can you hear me now? Okay, all right. So just to introduce the stream. So there's over 5 billion mobile subscribers in the world, right? But it's still quite unutilized, right? So what we're going to try and look at is on the technology front, how can we accelerate development by skipping less efficient technologies and moving directly to more advanced ones? So I don't know how many of you are from Kenya, but I'll give an example. If you're going into a shopping mall, driving a car, the first thing that will happen is at the gate, they check that you're not a terrorist. So they'll check your boot, and when all that is okay, you pick your little parking ticket, right? So you go ahead, you do all your shopping, When you're ready to exit, you go to the parking meter. So in most places around the world, you're supposed to pay for it yourself and leave. But in Kenya, what will happen is there's a lady there with a basket of coins, right? So she'll make change for you. She'll insert the coins into the parking meter. Okay, so you get your ticket, you leave, and as you drive out, as you wait for the parking bay to open, there'll be somebody else who takes the ticket from you and inserts it back in there, right? So we have technology available, but we're not actually using it in the most efficient way. You know, when you look at this example, Kenya is known for mobile innovation, right? Mobile finance innovation. We have M-Pesa, we have mobile money. So why do we need a lady with a basket of coins to intervene when we already have the technology to let you use your parking ticket to get in and out? So we're going to be exploring this kind of thing and see how different organizations, Nokia as an example, can work with developers to partner with corporations so that at the end the consumer is able to actually get a better experience using technology. Right? So African mobile entrepreneurs are expected to play a key role in developing the MIS. Local mobile innovation systems, they are evolving, but as I said, further stimulation is required. And local leaders, local organizations are required to play a key role. We have numerous examples in Kenya specifically, but also across Africa, of different organizations, different entrepreneurs that are taking a lead in part. So our stream will assess the opportunities, the challenges, and examine different mechanisms to speed up the adoption of mobile. If you can just go on to the next slide. So objective is basically to look at the key issues that developers are facing, that organizations are facing, and to come up with concrete action plans that will help us basically come up with practical initiatives to drive this further.
Thanks, Agatha. I think the only thing I would add here is many of you who have seen the places like iHub or the M Labs, you know, or similar co-creation spaces. Think about this summit as a co-creation space where different types of people with different backgrounds meet. And for me personally, I really would like to see some innovation around especially the BOP solutions when it comes to mobile content, mobile services, to the base of the pyramid group, because that's been the biggest disappointment I've had during my, let's say, the last 8 years with mobile. I just can't see scalable solutions coming out fast enough. And I would like to ask if there's anyone here who could challenge me so that I'm wrong and who could really show me that there is the hope and there is the scale and we can actually enhance that whole path from mind to market faster than it's been during the past couple of years.
So we're going to be presenting together with our co-facilitators, Peter Paul from Capgemini and Faith from NRC. We're going to be presenting on the transformational use of information and communication technologies in Africa. And in particular, in this stream, we'll be presenting a new report prepared by the World Bank and the African Development Bank over the last 2 years. And I think Enoch Yonazi from the African Development Bank is here somewhere in the audience. We'll be presenting the main findings from this report. It looks at 6 sectors in the African economy: agriculture, education, health, climate change adaptation, financial services, and modernizing government. And it also looks at 2 specific cross-cutting themes: trade and regional integration and competitiveness of the local ICT sector. If you can go to the next slide. So what we'll be doing in this stream is firstly taking stock of what are the leading examples of ICTs transforming the African economy. We'll be identifying key ICT applications. We'll be identifying the constraints that are holding us back. And we'll be seeking to develop a common framework amongst the stakeholders here and amongst the donor community and other development partners for future ICT interventions.
I'm Moses Sitati. My colleague Oltac, Unsal from InfoDev is going to join me shortly. And we're leading the technology financing stream. What this stream is really about is how do we take ideas, promising potential ideas, and support them to grow into successful businesses or companies. And it's really a response from the initial summit in 2010. There was, from the feedback in the summit, there was a lot of demand and requests for bringing financiers, bringing funding sources to the people who are presenting proposals and projects at the summit, and we certainly hope that that will be one of the outcomes during this particular summit, that you'll be able to make connections to people who can help you and support you. So just a little bit of background. This stream is about connecting the gap that you see there, building a bridge across that gap. We know that innovators, entrepreneurs in this region, they struggle with getting financial resources to grow and scale their companies. At the bottom end of the threshold, we have funding sources, maybe from individuals themselves, from microfinance. At the top end of the spectrum, we have private equity and banks providing financing. But really, we have this gap here that the PS already mentioned, and Valerie as well, in the morning presentation, which we're calling the death valley there, where enterprises fail to take off and grow. And so the key question of our stream is really, how do we build a bridge across this gap? And how do we close that gap? And we're going to be looking at the roles of some of the stakeholders you see there, incubator networks, acceleration platforms, angels, and so on, in playing a role over here. So what do we expect to achieve? In the next slide, we're going to look at 5 explicit areas. We'll look at methods and instruments for financing high growth potential innovators and companies. We'll want to look at alternative mechanisms to bring together financiers and entrepreneurs. We'll look at how to build competencies in 2 specific stakeholder groups. One, in the funding sources, so that they understand the potential of innovators. For instance, innovators in the African space, maybe VCs don't really understand how to reach them, how to identify them, so how can we equip them better? But also in the entrepreneurs themselves, how do we increase their skills so they become more investable? And lastly, as I mentioned, just looking into the role of the angel networks and accelerator platforms that can fill this gap.
Well, I tell you, if you look at this gold tie, you immediately know what our stream is all about. It's about money. So we're going to discuss that, how to achieve it, how to spend it profitably within the innovative ecosystem. But I'm most excited about the modality of this, of our forum here. I think the fact that we're going to be crowdsourcing the solutions is very interesting, and it particularly applies to our stream, because I tell you, if you go to the banks and they say, okay, where's your collateral so that I can loan you, we're not going to be able to come up with a solution that says, banks, don't ask for collateral. That's just not going to happen. But what could happen is I could essentially go around the room, ask for 1,000 shillings from each of you, collect that money, and give it to our deserving entrepreneurs. Now, of course, the stream needs to figure out how to prevent fraud. Maybe our best entrepreneur isn't an entrepreneur at all. So things like that is the things that I'm excited about, that we can actually bring some change in terms of solutions. And like I mentioned, like Moses mentioned, you know, new ways of identifying mechanisms to do these things right, and other ideas are what we're excited about. And hopefully we'll be able to have enough of a firepower in the room to start implementing those, because like we love to say, ideas are a dime a dozen, but execution is key. And so I think, and I'm hoping that we'll come up with that execution in the months and years to come.